From China to South Africa, Business Forum cancelled yesterday that was held, that was actually opening the official ceremony of the Business Forum that was addressed by South African President Cyril Ramaphosa and China's President Xi Jinping. And basically, some of the key pointers was trying to find a way of how to increase intra-BRICS cooperation between the five nations, how to foster these relations between these five countries. As you know, the intra-BRICS cooperation has increased from $204 billion US to $462 billion as of 2017. Is one of the the largest economy in the BRICS countries, and it has been able to advance this by various diplomatic programs such as the Belt and Road Initiative. We have also other programs that constitute with the President Xi Jinping visit recently in Africa, where he was able to visit Senegal, he was able to visit Rwanda and now South Africa, and then to Mauritius, where he is able to create and foster relations between China and Africa. So back to the BRICS Summit. This is a very momentous occasion for South Africa. As you can see right now where I am is the media center, and journalists are just streaming in right now ahead of the busy day we also have the visit to Maropeng, the cradle of humankind, where the leaders will be expected to visit different areas. And I'll try to talk to some of the journalists who have come from different nations, who will try to speak to us about what they feel about the BRICS Summit. Maybe if I can start with you, sir. How are you?
Finally.
What's your name, kindly?
My name is Chuso Kumalo. I'm a freelance journalist, originally from Zimbabwe, but I'm based here in South Africa.
What's your take on the BRICS Summit?
I think for Africa it has been a very good indication that there is a group now, international group, that focuses on Africa. If you hear the speeches so far from the President of South Africa, Cyril Ramaphosa, and Xi Jinping of China, they are saying Africa should be at the center, Africa should not be left behind. If you compare to what the G20s have been doing, Africa has not been put at the center of things. But now we have got an organization that says we care for Africa, it should not be left behind.
What do you think will be some of the deliverables of this 10th BRICS Summit as it culminates tomorrow?
Obviously, with the BRICS Development Bank having given already over $5 billion to these countries, we expect that more will be done. You know, South Africa has already been given an investment of about $14 billion by China. So we expect fruits, more deliverables than just talk like we have seen in other summits.
As a journalist, how is it covering the BRICS Summit?
It is a bit complicated. As you can see, we are closed downstairs here. We can't go up. If you want to go up, somebody has to accompany you if it's time up. So it's a very inconveniencing. But we understand because they are presidents here. They need to care for their securities. But I think they should make it easier for us to just access the rooms up and come down, because our deadlines are different and what we want to do is different. But I think so far, so good.
What is one interview you're seeking to get from this BRICS Summit?
If I could speak to the president of Russia, you know, the controversies around Russia and Europe, just to understand. And here in South Africa, we've got the nuclear agreements that we suspect Russia has signed with South Africa. I would want to know and ask him if there is any agreement that he has done with us. So if I could speak to President Putin and President Jinping, I think I would consider my coverage here very successful.
Said your name was?
My name is Tuso Kumalo. Yes, I'm a freelancer.
Thank you. You've heard it from Joseph Kumalo. He is a freelancer, and you've heard it is a bit restraining, but we understand because of the different presidents that are here, it is a bit restraining to get the interviews, but he has said he hopes to have an interview with South African President Cyril Ramaphosa and China's President Xi Jinping. This comes from their yesterday's speech, where it was lauded by different African nations. For example, he spoke on the trade war. It was lauded. He also spoke on the need to build an open world economy. And these are things that all African nations relate to. And I will try to speak to another journalist. They are very busy. As you know, it might be a lot of workload today because this is a second day and the heads of states will be having different meetings. I'll speak to one gentleman here. How are you, sir?
I'm fine, and you?
What's your name?
Nikolai.
Nicholas. Nicholas, you're from which country?
From Russia.
Great. How does it feel for your president to has arrived today morning?
Now we have to work very hard because our president is here, and yes, I prepare my report for the next news.
What do you expect from the 10th BRICS Summit?
I think now BRICS is a good alternative to the old organizations such as G7 and NATO, for example. They can't solve the problems, the old problems in the world, and BRICS is a good alternative.
What are some of the expectations you want to come out from this summit when it culminates tomorrow?
Oh, it's difficult to say. I think my greatest expectations is to deny from dollar. It's discussed here, and I think it's very important.
And then lastly, Russia's President Vladimir Putin is expected to be meeting Turkey President Erdogan. What can you say about this meeting?
It's difficult to say. They meet with each other quite often, so it's difficult to say. It's difficult to say.
What else can you add, or who do you like to interview at the end of this BRICS Summit?
No, of course I would like to ask my question to President Putin tomorrow on the press conference, but I don't know.
Thank you so much. You've heard it from one of the journalists from Russia who is very optimistic with the arrival of their president Vladimir Putin, who is also, by the way, expected to be having a meeting with the Turkey's president Erdogan, Tayyip Erdogan, on a variety of issues rather. And this is a meeting we'll also be looking forward to. Today we also have, yesterday was the Business Council Forum. Today we will be having the meetings of the heads of states that will discuss a number of issues, including the need to protect unilateralism that is incompatible with the World Trade Organization's. There has been a rift in terms of the trade tariffs between U.S. and China, and yesterday President Xi Jinping said that there will be no winner in any trade war. It is a speech that was actually spoken highly of by the different African leaders who are here. He also, maybe if I can take you through what he said yesterday, he said he will be helping developing countries, and this has been pretty much evident considering his 4 African leg tour where he began in Senegal, and Senegal was the first country to sign into the Belt and Road Initiative, the first West African country to sign into the Belt and Road Initiative. He went to Rwanda where he signed at least 15 bilateral agreements. In South Africa, 2 days ago, he signed at least 14 billion where and imports will be increased to South Africa. And South Africa and China have been sharing quite a lot for the last, actually they are marking in this BRICS Summit, they are marking 20 years since they began their cooperation with each other 20 years ago in 1998. And some of the sectors they have been working on include trade, where they have been, trade has increased from 28, actually China trading partner, and South Africa is China's largest trading partner as well. So basically for China and South Africa, it is a win-win cooperation between these two nations. And I can just walk you through the media center as I see if I can get anyone else to interview on what they feel about this BRICS, our 10th BRICS Summit. Hello, gentlemen. Hello, sir. How are you? This is CGTN, and we're just asking the different people what they feel about the 10th BRICS Summit.
Yeah, I think the 10th BRICS Summit is indeed an amazing event. Ranging from the organization and till what we're seeing right now. A couple of the BRICS nations in terms of the presidents are all around, and each one is discussing about how each of these BRICS nations can cohabit in terms of trade, economic and all that, which is actually a good thing. And actually with this conference or with this event or summit, one will be able to, each of these nations will be able to interact, and at the end of the day, we'll get something tangible from it in terms of economic improvement, in terms of skills, in terms of, all that is surrounded with, economic development. So that's what we're looking at, and definitely I know each and everyone, attendant here, definitely will go home with something, much. Is either you have much experience in technology, or you make more contact, or whatever thing that brought you here, one way or the other, you have it here, because it's really loaded.
Sir, if I could get your name, maybe which country are you from?
I'm from Nigeria, but based in South Africa, and we are actually an organization uplifting Africa. And what we're doing basically right now in Africa is that we're trying to see how we can cushion the effect of the economic crisis that is ravaging Africa right now. You see most of our young, teenagers taking the extreme measures of traveling, to Europe in order to seek for greener pastures and all that. And so what we're trying to do is to see how we can create such, basic amenities in their communities, so that they will be able to, one way or the other, have such, things around there. And for them, if they have such amenities, I don't think they will want to go and risk their life in traveling to Europe for greener pastures. So,
and then just to cut you short, having come from Nigeria, which is the one country among the BRICS nations that you love Nigeria to partner with?
Well, the 5 nations, they are the best. And for me as an individual, I will want Nigeria to partner with all the nations. I think Nigeria is in partner with China and even South Africa, not because the president was in Nigeria sometimes, I think 2 weeks ago. Yeah, and all that. So I think it's all the nations, not just one, all the nations.
What's your take on the China initiatives in Africa, how they're trying to promote cooperation between different African states?
Yeah, I think China, they're really trying, because when you look at what they are actually doing in Africa now, they're almost everywhere. And one way or the other, they're trying to see how they can assist in their own way to uplift Africa. So I think it's an amazing thing they're doing, and all we just need to do is just to support them and see how we can create that coexistence within, such nations.
Thank you so much, sir. Have a lovely day. You've heard it from one of the delegates from Nigeria, and he's very optimistic from this BRICS Summit. He says he's hoping that more will be achieved, and he's also expecting that Nigeria will be able to continue their partnership with China. Just to let you know that we are live right now on Facebook, and you can bring in your comments. I will try answer them one by one, and I will, if I can read some of them. We have a good one. This is from Felix, who says, this is a good one. There is for Africa's development. Thank you so much, Felix Akomea, for that comment. Continue posting your updates or comments on the Facebook section, and we will continue bringing to you one by one of these comments. And as I earlier said, right now it is just a morning session where different journalists are streaming in, trying to file their stories, trying to look for leads for their stories. Security is very much heightened because right now all leaders have been able to attend this BRICS Summit. We have the much-awaited meeting of Vladimir Putin. We have between Vladimir Putin and Turkish President Erdogan. And some of the key issues they will be looking at include the Syria crisis, and that is also a meeting we're expecting to look at. We also have South Africa and China relations. You remember one of the agreements that was signed was on the visa-free policy, and this also one coming in tandem with one of President Xi Jinping's speech yesterday during the opening ceremony, where he said that we should help, African nations should help the African Union to implement the Agenda 2063. This is the African Continental Trade Agreement that South Africa was at least the last, one of the few 4 nations that signed it during the Africa Union Summit in Mauritania. And we also have South Africa and South-to-South cooperation that China is also seeking to advance. We also have the need for Africa to be part of the BRICS nations, and that's why you can see the choice of countries that have been invited. We have different countries. We have Gambia, we have Togo, President Gansibe who is here. We also expect leaders from Ethiopia. We expect leaders from Zambia, and this just shows you that BRICS intends to create a Pan-African view of this. And yesterday during the BRICS Council Business Forum meeting, we also had deliberations on how to ensure there is trade parity between the inter-BRICS nations. For example, how China and South Africa, that has been emulated as the best example of the win-win and cooperation between the different nations. Maybe if I can try to read some of the comments that are coming in on questions. You can continue dropping in your questions on the Facebook page, and today we also expect press conferences, a variety of press conferences to be held here. We also expect a cultural, sort of a cultural festival where the different nations will be getting to know about their different cultures. For example, from Brazil, Russia, India, China, and South Africa, they will learn each other's culture, because it is one of the proposals that has been made by South Africa. If I can take you through these proposals, one of them is establishment of a modern vaccine research center. We also have the second one, which is establishment of peacekeeping missions. We know Brazil has been in at least 50 peacekeeping missions. We have establishment, or rather advancement, of tourism among the BRICS countries. South Africa, I like to use South Africa and China relations, because inhibited by through the South Africa, China. We have at least 5 modern traditional medicines that have been set up here in South Africa. In terms of investment, we have at least 600 companies from the Chinese people that have been set up here as well in South Africa. This shows you just how the China and South Africa relation has grown over the past couple of years. And maybe if I can continue walking further to see if I can get anyone else to interview. I don't know if I can pass through his live. Someone is just doing a live link here. As I try to read the comments from your Facebook, you can continue bringing in your comments. And we also had the Business Council Forum, and actually was a very big ceremony yesterday. I cannot be able to pass here. Someone is doing their pass through someone's link, so we will go back through the route we were coming from. The BRICS Business Council Forum is basically driven to improve the lives of people through large infrastructure development. And as you know, for infrastructure, we have China's the Belt and Road Initiative, reflect the evaluation of the BRICS Summit as well. We also have by 2020 the total demand of infrastructure in BRICS country is expected to rise significantly. We also have Mr. Rob Davies, the Minister of Trade in South Africa, yesterday during the opening ceremony of the Business Council, said that the IMF has predicted that in the next coming years, the BRICS countries will constitute the world's largest economies, more than even the G20 countries. Speaking of the G20 countries, we also have Argentina's President Macri, who is expected to be jetting into the country today. He is also the head of the G20. We also expect the United Nations Secretary General Antonio Guterres, who is also expected to be here. Right now, basically, what we are having is a closed plenary session between the different heads of state, just to increase their bilateral connections and agreements. Quite a momentous occasion, and as I had told you, for South Africa, it comes in the wake of the celebration of their 20-year anniversary with China. It also comes, it is the 5-year BRICS Council meeting as well, and South Africa has also launched the African Continental Free Trade Agreement. And if I actually almost forget to tell you, the theme of the 10th BRICS Summit, it is quite a mouthful, I must say. It is a collaboration for inclusive growth and shared prosperity in the 4th Industrial Revolution. This just shows you how it intends to bring about different relations among different African countries. I'm really trying to get someone to interview here at the center, but most people are freaking out because they are journalists, and my producer is telling me that it is time out. I have to go, but we will continue responding to your comments if I can see some of them. We will continue responding to your comments once we see them on the CGTN Facebook Live. And if you have any questions, you can go to the CGTN Facebook Live or CGTN page on Facebook, and on Twitter, CGTN page also, to just give us what you think about the 10th BRICS Summit under hashtag BRICS 2018. And I have been your reporter for this live streaming, Dinah Matengo, here in Johannesburg at the Sandton Convention Center, where the 10th BRICS Summit is currently underway. Day 2 it is.